Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. And when I'm not interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm listening to Stephanie O'Brien on the Moved by Purpose podcast.
Creating or finding your dream job is not something that comes easy for people. As you know, if it were easy, then everyone else would be doing it.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
Hey, it is Stephanie O'Brien, and I am excited to be back with you guys this week. I'm sorry that there was no content produced last week. I was going through a launch, and then I'm also selling my house. You guys are probably like, this girl moves a lot. I feel the same way. Anyway, so it's been quite an experience, and there has been a lot on my plate. And one of the things that I've learned through this is importance of being prepared. And when you are working full-time and building your dream job, or just life happens, you're busy, but you're being dedicated to a dream, sometimes in the beginning you don't know what is involved with making that dream a reality. And it was a huge shocker to me and challenge for me at first to accept that there's a lot of adversity that comes your way when you start doing something that matters, something that you love, something that's important to you, and something that's going to make an impact on a lot of people's lives. And change you, too. It doesn't just transform your own life, it transforms many. And that's not going to be met without some major resistance. And this isn't to discourage anyone. This is to anyone that may be encountering a lot of resistance. I just want to encourage you. This is part of the process. And it's not that you might have made a mistake or maybe you shouldn't do it. It's not like it's a sign from God that you're on the wrong path. It's amazing how many people have said things to me. I've heard some people say that when you're in the will of God, all doors open, which I completely disagree with and do not believe is scripturally sound at all. And then there's people that have said when you obey God and you start fulfilling the purpose and call on your life, that the enemy tries to steal, kill, and destroy that and wear you out and resist you. In my experience, that is true. And that is more scripturally and biblically sound than the latter. And sure, is there favor? Sure, are there times and seasons of blessings where everything goes your way and all doors open and it's just an abundance of blessings? Yes, those are seasons. And it's important to remember that if you're kind of in a barren season, or what you're doing isn't producing fruit, or let's say you're the fishermen that are fishing all day and all night with no catch, that can be discouraging, but you need to keep going. Do you need to reassess sometimes, or reconsider, or seek wisdom and pray to see if maybe there's something different you need to be doing? Sure. But sometimes it's just tough. Sometimes it's just hard, and you need to persist and you need to persevere. So that's my little bit of encouragement that actually had nothing to do with what I had prepared for you. And as I was talking about preparation, life happens and things can get really stressful sometimes. So I would encourage you, if you want to be content marketing, if blogging or videos or podcasting, some form of content marketing is how you want to grow your platform, grow your audience, and establish trust in your business, then it's best to be prepared with an editorial calendar. That means that you plan your content ahead of time and batch produce it. Now, I have yet to do that. I was doing that with my podcast because I would have guests on and it was just easier to do it. But now I'm branching off into my own content, expecting your week to go smoothly and just try to have every Wednesday as content day until life happens. That Wednesday is not available, or that week, or you're completely maxed out. Have your content produced in advance so you're consistent. Now realize I am human and I'm learning along the way as well. And so that was a mistake I made. I was I didn't have content for you last week, so I apologize for that, but thank you for giving me the grace to learn along the way. You learn with me. I teach you my mistake. I teach you what I'm learning if I'm a little bit ahead of you, so you can avoid them. If you can plan your content in advance and batch produce it, like take one day. So if you're working full time, maybe 3-4 hours on Saturday, you can just write all your blogs or create all of your videos or record all of your podcasts. That will take care of it for an entire month. And that will be so amazing. So instead of like stressing every week about barely making your deadline, just take care of it once a week in the entire month and be done. And that's what I'm going to start doing. Anyway, so that's, I guess, that could be 2 podcasts, or that could be 1 podcast in and of itself, the power of preparation. But for now, I'm actually going to talk to you what I had prepared, which is how do you transition from your day job to your dream job? And there are going to be 4 things I'm going to tell you that are a must for doing any transition well. So creating or finding your dream job is not something that comes easy for people. As you know, if it were easy, then everyone else would be doing it. 20%, there would be 80% of people that love what they do that are in their dream job versus only 20%. But you guys that are listening to this want to transition to your dream job. It matters to you, and you're going to be willing to put the hard work into learning what that is. You either find it or you create it. And transitioning, if you guys, well, life is one giant transition. So you guys are pretty well acquainted with transitioning. If you graduated high school and transitioned to college, that was a learning adjustment. Graduating from college and transitioning to your first full-time job, that's an adjustment. Transitioning to different career fields, that's a transition. Transitioning from being single to being married, or having no children to having your first child, or having 1 child to 2. All of it is a transition. All of it requires a learning curve. And you know that it can be a bit overwhelming and scary for some people. It's also really exciting and refreshing. And to do any transition well, you will need to have these first 4 things down. Number 1, you need clarity. You may not know every single step or every single turn that may come along the way on your journey, but you do need to be clear about where you are going. And change can be difficult enough as it is. And confusion and a lack of direction will only make things worse. So make sure that you are clear on what your next step is. You may not have a spotlight on the entire roadmap, but as long as you're clear on your next step, and this is what can trip a lot of people up, they might not know their next step. Or perhaps they have the big picture and big vision. Like let's say they want to get to the top of the mountain, but they don't even know, well, what path should I take? There's multiple trails to get there. There's multiple ways to get there. And they get so hung up on deciding what path or what the best path for them will be. And there is something in assessing that, but just start picking a path and get moving. That's just kind of the way I am. Just don't delay yourself from getting there because you're so stuck in determining what the best path is for you that you don't even take a path at all. So just be careful of that. And I know that when things are intimidating and overwhelming, that's what people do. That's what paralyzes people. They call it paralysis analysis. And I struggle with it too. I am a person of massive action, but I struggle with it too. Anything new to me, I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do it right? Or where do I begin? And the most important step, I think, on your journey is the first step. And then to keep going. You'll realize when you take the first step, you're like, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad, so I'm just going to take another one and another one. And then you're there. So it's one step at a time. Number 2, you need confidence. Transition or change can make a person feel a lot of uncertainty. And if you fixate on the unknown or uncertain, you are sure to lose your confidence in yourself, and God, and the others that you are blessed to have in your life. So do not give your confidence away when you face uncertainty. It will only add more stress to your situation. Confidence is really important to have, and I know you might not feel all that confident. You're probably like, Stephanie, how in the world can I feel confident if I'm not even sure on how this is going to turn out? I can't even see the end from where I'm at. I don't even know what it completely looks like. Remember, I said, focus on your next step, and when you're there, are, focus on the next step you take. You know the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. If you're only focusing on how am I going to eat this elephant, I have this whole elephant to consume, that's going to be discouraging. When I was training for my half marathon, my first one, I hated running. I couldn't even run 2 miles without feeling like I was going to pass out or die. I mean, it was pathetic. 5 minutes in and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I remember being like, okay, and I'm supposed to be able to run 13.1 miles when I can barely make it 5 minutes. And it was discouraging, but I pushed through it. I powered through it. By the grace of God, I was able to do it. And then I started reading like runners magazines and things that were encouraging from other like Olympic winner, gold medal winner marathon runners that can run like, oh my gosh, 4-minute miles or less. It's crazy how fast they are. And I was running like a 15-minute mile. But hey, you got to start somewhere. And what they said when they asked, I forgot the guy's name. His name is Ryan something. How do you even manage to run 26.2 miles? How are you able to get there? And he's like, it's just focusing on the step. You know, it's just one step at a time. You don't look at how I have 5 more miles to go or whatever, because if you're exhausted and you're in pain, 5 more miles seems unbearable. But you're saying just one more step, just one more step, or I'm just focusing on this next step. You will run 26.2 miles. And for me, I mean, I ran 13.1 miles. I did it. And it was an amazing journey. I believe it was 14 weeks. I was able to go from being barely able to run 5 minutes to running 13.1 miles. It wasn't the fastest time, but I ran the entire way without any walking break. So that's a huge success. So remember, it's one step at a time, one bite at a time. Keep your confidence. Be confident at the step that you are on, and be confident that the next step will be made clear for you. Number 3, competence. So let's say you want to transition to a completely different career field. Let's say you're an engineer and you want to be a medical doctor. It goes without saying that you know you need to have a level of competence before you will be hired as a medical doctor. You will need to go to school. You will need to get training. You will need to do your residency and your internships and have a proven and demonstrated ability to be a medical doctor. There is something, but don't allow this to hold you back either. When you're making a career change, there will be some level of competence in the new direction you are going to. There will be. But the example I gave you was extreme. Going from engineer to medical doctor, or say you want to be airline pilot. You know there's going to be hours and hours of training and a certain skill set and competency you must have. But for me, like, I knew I was going to start a business, and I started a business, and I started getting paid before I had any idea about how to run a business and how to market and how to sell and how to do any of that. I just started telling people what I was doing, and I didn't have a logo. I didn't have a website when I got my first client, and I learned as I went. So just don't allow that to trip you up. You are competent enough to start. So if you want to start a business, please don't feel like you have to go get an MBA or a PhD in entrepreneurship to be successful in business. What you need is to get out there and start doing, and get out there and start learning from your mistakes, and get out there and start networking and talking to as many people with successful businesses as you can, so you can learn from them, glean from their wisdom, glean from their mistake. That's how you do it. That is competency, and that's how you develop a business. Number 4, connections. You have heard it said by many people, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And this statement does hold a lot of weight for most things. Many people stop networking when they get their jobs. I did this as well, unless you have a job where you have to network a ton. And this is a big mistake that I see made, and this can really hurt a lot of people, because when they are burned out in their careers and they want to change, they stop networking and building and nurturing connections, or they stop learning how to nurture or leverage their connections. So this is a really big thing that I think everybody should do, whether you want to have your own business or whether you love your job and want to stay in there and advance at the company. It's still very important to network and learn how to nurture who you know and leverage your connections to learn more, to meet more people. Ask for introductions from the people that you do know. This can really help you meet several people that will help you build your business or land your dream job. So those are the 4 things that you must have to do any transition well. I know this topic was how to transition from your day job to your dream job. Whether you're creating or finding your dream job, these things are really relevant. And to review again, number 1, you need clarity. You need to know where you are going. Number 2, you need confidence. Do not give your confidence away in the face of adversity. Number 3, you need competence. Please be aware that there are certain things you will need more training on. You need to constantly be a self-learner and a go-getter. You need to constantly build up your competence and increase your skill set there. And number 4, you need connections. Nurture who you know, build upon who you know, leverage the connections you have, and you will do your transition very well. And speaking of day job to dream job transitions, I am excited to announce that I am having my first day job to dream job group coaching program that will be opened. The start date I will announce very soon. For now, if you're interested, please send me an email at stephanie@movedbypurpose.net or go to movedbypurpose.net and just click contact, and I will get that email or someone from my team and ask any questions. The day job to dream job program is focusing on, if you have a business and you know what your dream job is, you're building your dream job around your day job, but you need help learning how to do this transition well. How can you make this transition faster? How can you be successful in your transition? How can you manage your time when you're working full time? How can you do all the demands involved, because it's tough? And at what point do you know when it is time to quit? What kind of things do you need to have set up in order for you? How about retirement? How about insurance? How do you market to build your brand? How do you find really good paying gigs so you can start transitioning faster? All of that is covered in Day Job to Dream Job. And if you're interested, I would love to have you. Just send me an email, ask me any questions that you have. And I so enjoyed talking to you, and I hope that you were blessed and found value in this podcast. Sorry I rambled a little bit at the beginning. I just felt really inspired, so I did it. I hope you found value with that little inspired moment of rambling. And I will talk to you all next week. Much love. You are competent enough to start. So if you want to start a business, please don't feel like you have to go get an MBA or a PhD in entrepreneurship to be successful in business.